Depression. According to the World Health Organization, depression is the third most common disease in the world. It was previously estimated that 850,000 people suffered from depression per year. But by 2020, the number had increased to 1,200,000 people, making it now the second most leading disease in the world. Western scientists have researched that most citizens suffered from depression. The problem can be either mild or severe. Being depressed not only affects the functions of psychology, but also fluctuates this physiology. Depression has 3 phases. The first stage. Depressed people are uncomfortable, often upset, and the reaction density is tense from big things to small things. The reaction to even the right things and people can come off dramatic. Focus and inspiration at work will soon reduce significantly, failing in a loss of striving goals. The conditions of happiness and hobbies become a bore. Problem solving becomes difficult, which will result in loss of appetite and lack of sleep. Things will no longer appear like they used to be. The second stage. Prolongs a boring attitude and accepts no purposes in life. Suspicious that no one really loves them, losing faith in people and happiness. They become sensitive and are quick to assume that everyone has bad intentions. Because they are afraid to be heard asking questions attaining to health, family, and work, they rather isolate themselves completely and live in loneliness and suffering. During this stage, the depressed person falls into a deep hole, trying to rise out but at many times does not succeed. Feeling like a failure, the belief of themselves no longer exists, thinking that they are useless and a burden to all. During this period, these people embrace all fears. Afraid of the sun, cold baths, nightfall, loud noises, and hidden glances. It's all fear. The third stage of depression is the end result. When a person gives up on finding a way out of depression, they lose all faith, hope, and the will to carry on, finally ready and wanting to end it all. The rate of people suffering from depression in women is twice as high in men, possibly because women's psychology is weaker than men and after childbirth. But the number of suicidal people is higher in men than women. But why? It is because of the ego. Men do not dare to speak up. Men are taught to be tough and to never express their emotions. But depression is depression. It does not leave anyone alone, not even a monk or a rich person or a celebrity. So when someone is depressed, they are a patient who is in need. WHO chooses April 7th to be a National Awareness Day called Depression Day. On this day, people should talk, speak out to help those suffering with depression. We need to help on both sides. One side being the patient who must understand that they need to gain trust and open up to share every resentment, even negative emotions. They also need to calmly release their negative thoughts and have faith to trust. The other side being the psychotherapist, spiritualist, close friends and/or family members who are there to help, should not expect to ask questions about the conditions right away. Furthermore, it is because the ones suffering cannot recognize themselves or control their emotions. We have not known what the severity of depression is. We have unintentionally put pressure on people with depression for not opening up. For instance, When responding with anger towards a depressed person, that reaction can seriously devastate them internally. Applying pressure on a depressed person can further push them to thoughts of suicide. We must give them a shared concern just by listening with sincerity and love. If there is one characteristic quality that is most valuable, it would be active listening. In this day and age, a lot of people only listen to reply instead of listening to understand. Unfortunately, we are losing this precious human function and not fully listening to the ones suffering. If we really want to help, we must be quiet and listen to them without analyzing what is right and wrong. If we feel that we cannot help, then seeking a professional is the next step. To treat depression, it must be narrowed down to these main conditions. At the first level of depression, people are still able to go to work and perform normal tasks. But for those who are experiencing the second level of depression, cannot focus on their work and must leave their current state of living to seek treatment. Inviting benign energy during the time of uncontrollable depression can create a positive and peaceful atmosphere to embrace and hug the depression. Depressed people cannot escape the ghost of the past. The best way to help them return to the present is to help them connect with nature. Nature obtains a very peaceful energy that can heal and hug depressive wounds through benign activity, such as camping, walking, planting, running, and various other activities. Connecting with a community is another form of benign energy, such as loving, listening, and sharing with people who can also help the depressed release their sufferings. Meditation practices develop a focus and concentration and mindfulness. A concentration of not thinking anymore and a thought process to dwell in gestures like breathing, connecting, and settling the mind to the present. Awaking the good seed in them can prove how good they have been or how they have contributed to this life and what their mission is. Medication also helps as a part of the recovery, and these methods also contribute to the treatment for depressed people. Depression is only a small part of human duration. It is not easily dismissed because suffering will always, at some point, accompany a time in life. When depression is present, the person will always act as a warrior, ready to fight because it can return at any time. They have to be persistent in order to establish a more solid life, spending great time for spiritual beliefs, and by then they can master themselves. After the state of depression, the person will possess an extremely sharp mind to understand the mind of those around them and obtain a more simple life. If they are well trained in nurturing a strong soul, they can become a specialized psychotherapist. Depression results in a life of stressful delusions, pressure that cannot be transformed, and bringing their consciousness down to a very low standard. When they fall into depression, their insight of reality is far different from ordinary people. A word or advice may be perceived as an attack or criticism. Feelings of complex or incompetence triggers no value in front of others. I hope everyone finds happiness in every state of being, whether they are happy, sad, hateful, or loving. Let smiling, sharing, adoring together be the first step to finding pure happiness.
you.